Shall we begin or wait a few minutes for the others to join?
You can begin, Mr. Moutlai. We don't have the time.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everybody. Do you see my screen? Do you see the screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay, good. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll try to keep this short, brief, because we don't have much time. Today, we're going to talk about critical thinking and innovation skills. Let me first begin with these famous quotations about education and critical thinking. As you can see here, one quotation by Thomas Edison says that 5% of the people think, 10% of the people think they think, but in fact they don't. And the other 80%, 85% would rather die than think. So thinking is not that easy. And it seems a lot of people don't like to think or don't like to do something that requires thinking. Let's look at types of thinking. We have critical thinking and creative thinking. As you can see, the left brain is responsible for critical thinking, which is logical, sequential, rational, analytical, objective, and it looks at path. The creative thinking, responsible for that is the right brain. It is random, intuitive, holistic. Somebody is playing something in Arabic. Okay, that's another meeting maybe. Okay, critical thinking and creative thinking together, they allow us to solve problems and to make decisions by analyzing, evaluating, or reasoning. But what is critical thinking? There is no one definition for critical thinking, but we can say it is a way to gather, assess information in a logical and balanced way, and in a reflective way to reach conclusions justified by reasons, argument based on available evidence. There are many different definitions, but this could be okay. Before we proceed, let's just think a little bit. Do you see the questions clearly? Can anybody read question number 1? Any volunteer? Question number 1, how do you put a giraffe into a refrigerator? Maybe you may know this famous quiz. How do you put an elephant into a refrigerator? And question 3, the Lion King is hosting an animal conference. All the animals attend except one. Which animal does not attend?
Are you sure
And
it's only
question 4.
one? Are you
Sorry?
sure it's not? It's only one? I thought it's the elephant or the giraffe.
Yeah. You mean question number 3?
Yeah.
All animals attend except one. Which animal does not attend?
Elephant?
Okay, well, why is it elephant?
Because first you put the giraffe in the refrigerator, then you took it out and put the elephant instead.
Yeah,
So everybody
the
would
elephant is
gather
still,
except.
yeah, good. That's good. Yeah, the elephant is still in the refrigerator. Question number 4. There is a river you must cross, but it is used by crocodiles. And you do not have a boat. How do you manage it? How do you manage to cross the river?
Like all crocodiles are in animal conference, so we can cross
Yes,
easily.
yes.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, good, Mr. Sanjeev. Thank you. Yeah, that's right. So let's look at critical thinking and intellectual standards, or standards of critical thinking. They can be applied. Intellectual standards can be applied to critical thinking. Clarity, accuracy, precision, relevance, depth, breadth, logic, and fairness. In the following slides, I'll show some questions that you can ask to achieve clarity, accuracy, or to meet these standards, breadth, logic. For clarity, for example, you can ask, could you elaborate further on that point? Could you express that point in another way? For accuracy, you can ask, is that true? How could we check that? How could we find out if that is true? And so on. So these are 8 standards for critical thinking: clarity, accuracy, breadth, logic, precision, depth, relevance, and fairness. And there's a number of questions for each standard you can ask. Oh, what are the benefits of critical thinking? Of course, there are benefits in our daily life, benefits at work, and in education. Just give you a minute to have a look at some of these benefits, then I move on to the next section. Okay, critical thinking allows us to make good decisions. It allows us to make, or it enables us to be good citizens capable of making good decisions. And it enables us to quickly solve problems, learn quickly and solve problems, show creativity in our work, gather information and analyze information meaningfully. Let's now look at how we can enable learners to become critical thinkers. I'll show a number of strategies you can use to enable students to be critical thinkers. The first one is classroom assessment technique, or there's a number of classroom assessment techniques anyway. The use of ongoing classroom assessment and reflection to monitor and facilitate students' critical thinking. You can ask students to write a minute paper responding to specific questions, such as these 3 questions. What was the most important thing you learned in today's class? What one question related to this lesson remains uppermost in your mind? How is what you learned today relevant to other classes or life outside of school? You can ask students to write something on these questions. That's classroom assessment technique. Another technique is cooperative learning. In cooperative learning environments, learners engage in active critical thinking with continuous support and feedback from other students or other learners and from the facilitator or the teacher. You can group students into small groups, 2 or more learners, to foster critical thinking. The third technique is use of questions. Learning to formulate a series of questions is important to enable students to be critical thinkers and become good critical thinkers. You have a lot of question types here. You can use peer questioning. Students ask each other. They present a list of questions. You can present a list of question items to guide students in writing responses in small groups. Then the whole class discusses some of the questions or some of from some or all the small groups. You can also use readers' questions. This requires students to write questions on assigned reading and send them at the beginning of class, and the teacher can select a number of those questions for class discussion. Also, you can use blue sky questions where there is no limit, no judgment, or no consequences. They can think freely, write any questions they want to ask anything. You can also use simple learning questions. Examples of these include, what do you see here? What do you know about it? Does this remind you of something you've seen before? What do you think? And why do you think that? And do you see any patterns forming? These are examples of extended learning questions. That's also critical learning. You can also use learners' exam questions or Bloom's taxonomy. Very, very common, very known. The next strategy is to use writing assignments. Challenging for some students, especially lower level students. Writing for other demands that learners think clearly to communicate clearly. They can be based on questions, can be done in small groups or individually, can use different structures like compare and contrast, show cause and effect, explanation, argument, or proposition. Or you can even write letter to editors. In this case, students act as editors and their peers write letters to them. Or you can also write lab or experimental reports. Oh, the next strategy is dialogues or debates. They stimulate useful discussions in the classroom. Students can be grouped into small groups that write dialogues and identify different viewpoints in a dialogue, look for biases, presence, or exclusion of important evidence. Or they can alternatively show interpretations, use interpretations, misstatement of facts, and errors in reasoning. The next strategy is spontaneous group dialogue or debate. In this case, students in one group are assigned roles to play in a discussion. Another group is the observer group. That one is in charge of determining what roles are being played by whom, identifying biases and errors in thinking, and evaluating reasoning skills. It's like one group monitors another group. The sixth strategy is experiments and collecting data. That can be useful for those who teach science and math. Discovering relationships in math and science, like prime numbers, area and volume calculations, height, arm span, and head size, kinetics, flight, pressure, you can use it in all of those topics and areas. And also use it in statistics and presenting information. The last step is, or the last strategy is ambiguity. Normally, you rather than providing all the information as fact, produce as much ambiguity in the classroom as possible. Don't give students clear cut material, give them conflicting information that they must think their way through, and present content as a detective story that they must solve by answering a set of questions. Okay, now we have 6 steps to effective thinking. They are, you can refer to them using this acronym IDEAL. I for identifying the problem, like what's the real question we're facing here. D for define the context. What are the facts and circumstances that frame this problem? And E for enumerate choices. What are our most plausible 3 or 4 points? A for analyze options. What is our best course of action? All things considered. L for list reasons explicitly. Let's be clear. Why are we making this particular choice? And S for self-correct. Like, okay, let's look at this again. What did we miss? So remember, ideals. 6 steps to effective thinking. And that's it. That's all I have. If anybody has any question, please feel free to ask. Hello?
No, Moutlai, not from my side. Thank you so much.
No question.
Thank
Mr.
you so
Moutlai.
much,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Nadia. Thank you so much, Mr. Sanjeev. Any questions?
Just a comment. It's very interactive, very interesting, and thank you for all the efforts you invested in this presentation.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Don't forget to complete the attendance form in the chat box sent by Mr. Abdul Qadir. If there are no questions, then we can end the meeting. Mr. Aid. Mr. Aid. Bye.